Back when you hosted The Apprentice, you mentioned once in 2012 that Diddy was a good friend of yours back then. He has since found himself in some very serious legal trouble.
Yeah, that's true.
Would you ever consider pardoning him?
President Donald Trump recently sparked controversy by addressing the possibility of pardoning Sean Diddy Combs, who is embroiled in a high-stakes federal trial in Manhattan. Combs faces serious charges, including sex trafficking, racketeering, and prostitution-related crimes, which could lead to a life sentence. During a White House press briefing, Trump stated he would look at the facts if a pardon request were made, noting that no one has directly asked, but people are thinking about it. He referenced a past friendship with Combs, saying, "He used to really like me a lot, but things changed when I got into politics." These remarks have intensified public interest in Combs' legal battle, which has exposed a web of allegations, betrayals, and a crumbling empire built on charisma and control.
Look at what's happening, and I haven't been watching it too closely, although it's certainly getting a lot of coverage. I haven't seen him, I haven't spoken to him in years. He used to really like me a lot, but I think when I ran for politics, that relationship busted up from what I read. I don't know, he didn't tell me that, but I'd read some little bit nasty statements. So I can't, it's not a popularity contest. So I don't know, I would certainly look at the facts. If I think somebody was mistreated, whether they like me or don't like me, it wouldn't have any impact.
Combs faces 5 federal charges: 1 count of racketeering conspiracy, 2 counts of sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion, and 2 counts of transportation for prostitution. If convicted, he faces a mandatory minimum of 15 years in prison with the potential for life imprisonment. Combs has pleaded not guilty, and his attorney, Mark Agnifilo, argues the accusations are financially motivated, asserting that all relationships were consensual. Prosecutors, however, allege Combs operated a criminal enterprise through his companies, Bad Boy Entertainment, Sean John, and Revolt, organizing drug-fueled events termed freak-offs and using threats, violence, and non-disclosure agreements to silence victims. The trial has drawn significant attention, with testimony and evidence painting a troubling picture of Combs' operations. The courtroom has been a stage for explosive revelations. Cassandra Cassie Ventura, Combs' former girlfriend and bad boy artist, delivered harrowing testimony about years of abuse. She alleged Combs coerced her into participating in freak-offs involving male escorts and subjected her to physical violence, including an incident where he allegedly smashed her head against furniture and dragged her across a hotel room floor. A 2016 hotel surveillance video presented in court appears to corroborate her account, showing Combs attacking her. Ventura's 2023 lawsuit against Combs, settled quickly, triggered a wave of legal action, with over 70 lawsuits now filed accusing him of sex trafficking, abuse, intimidation, and other crimes. A former assistant testified to witnessing Combs drugging women at private events, while a Bad Boy Records employee claimed the label's resources were used to facilitate these events, with Combs leveraging his authority to control and silence victims. These accounts suggest a calculated system of exploitation hidden behind his public persona. Combs' legal troubles have turned former allies into adversaries, amplifying the case's impact. Mays, a former Bad Boy artist, testified about exploitative contracts that deprived him of royalties and locked him into unfavorable deals. The Locks, another Bad Boy group, echoed these claims, accusing Combs of financial manipulation that transformed them from collaborators to opponents. In 2023, Diageo, the company behind Ciroc Vodka, sued Combs for mismanaging funds after he accused them of racial bias. The lawsuit was settled, but it ended their partnership, turning a corporate ally into an enemy. Federal authorities, led by the Department of Homeland Security, escalated the case with March 2024 raids on Combs' Los Angeles and Miami homes, seizing electronics and alleged freak-off recordings as evidence of a criminal network. Prosecutors have amassed 96 terabytes of data, including the 2016 video, strengthening their case. Combs' rise to power was shaped by key figures and experiences that informed his controversial playbook. Andre Harrell, his mentor at Uptown Records, taught him how to blend hip-hop's raw energy with mainstream appeal, a strategy Combs honed at Bad Boy to build stars like Notorious B.I.G. However, testimony from Mace and the Locks suggests Combs twisted Harrell's lessons into a system of control, using tight contracts to maximize profits at artists' expense. This approach generated wealth but bred resentment, turning protégés into adversaries. Combs' Harlem upbringing also played a role. In a 2024 interview before his arrest, he spoke of his father, Melvin Combs, a street figure killed when Combs was 3. This environment instilled a relentless hustle, blending street smarts with boardroom tactics. The indictment alleges Combs used street connections to intimidate victims, a tactic that worked until former allies like Shine turned against him. Shine, a former Bad Boy rapper, testified that Combs derailed his career after a 1999 nightclub incident, portraying him as a betrayer. Suge Knight, founder of Death Row Records, offered insight into Combs' methods in a 2024 Jailhouse interview. Knight claimed Combs' tactics were inherited from older music industry figures, but amplified with greater aggression and greed. He described Combs as someone who crossed ethical boundaries, escalating rivalries and disrespecting hip-hop's unspoken codes. Knight's comments, tinged with personal animosity, highlight how Combs' ambition alienated even those who understood the industry's darker side. Combs' legendary parties, once a symbol of his influence, are now under scrutiny. Attended by stars like Jay-Z, Naomi Campbell, and Justin Bieber, these events were branding opportunities that reinforced his dominance. However, testimonies suggest some parties hid disturbing activities, including coerced freak-offs. And Bieber is reportedly unsettled by memories of his early interactions with Combs, reflecting a broader retreat by former allies. The fallout with Jay-Z, once a close friend, has been particularly striking. Attorney Tony Busby has filed lawsuits implicating Jay-Z, alleging he knew of Combs' illicit activities. Jay-Z responded with a lawsuit accusing Busby of extortion, and his silence during the trial underscores a significant rift. The legal pressure is mounting, with prosecutors presenting a formidable case. The 96 terabytes of seized data, including electronics and recordings, support allegations of a systematic operation. Combs' defense team insists the freak-offs were consensual and portrays the lawsuits as opportunistic attempts to exploit his wealth. However, the sheer number of accusers, over 70, and the volume of evidence presents significant challenges. The trial has exposed a pattern of behavior that contrasts sharply with Combs' public image as a charismatic entrepreneur. His playbook, built on Harrell's branding expertise, his father's street hustling legacy, and his own relentless ambition, created a billion-dollar empire, but also a legion of enemies. Trump's comments about a potential pardon add a layer of uncertainty, raising questions about whether political influence could alter the course of justice. The trial's outcome remains uncertain, but its impact on Combs' legacy is undeniable. Once celebrated for revolutionizing hip-hop and building a multifaceted empire, he now faces the possibility of spending decades behind bars. The testimony from Ventura, former employees, and artists paints a picture of a man who wielded power with ruthless precision, only to see it unravel under the weight of his own actions. Allies who once flocked to his side are now absent, and the industry he helped shape is reevaluating his influence. As the trial progresses, the world watches to see whether Combs can salvage his reputation or if his empire will collapse entirely, with Trump's pardon remarks looming as a wild card in an already dramatic saga.